It's that time again, a little bit more of a Christmas spirit. We have a little Amigurumi Christmas tree here, so he's got his little cutie face there. I've stitched on buttons. You could do beads, you could do all sorts of decorations. That is entirely up to you. That was just my idea for decoration. As you can see, he's made in 3 parts. We have the cone, we have his bottom here, and we also have, well, whether it be a bucket or a box or whatever it is he's stood in, so that could be any colour. I have done it in a double knit yarn, so obviously I've used green for our tree there, and I've used red for the base, but once again, any colour you like. I have a little bit of black double knit yarn here, just for his little mouth. You could use embroidery cotton, you could use crochet cotton, whatever you prefer to do that stitching with. So I can move that to one side. We have a 3.5mm crochet hook. There's our crochet hook there. These are the little buttons that I use, but again, that's up to you. These were only cheap off eBay. You can usually get a big bag of them, so they're quite good to have handy for things. Obviously, because I do dolly things as well, these are great. So I'm going to put them to one side. I have my needles with my little Nomi stitch marker there. The eyes, now I've used safety eyes. These are 9mm safety eyes. Now you may prefer to sew a bead on, or you may prefer to embroider the facial details. Sometimes you do sort of like we've done that there, the little V. Sometimes you do a sideways one. That looks quite cute. So those are what I've used. Think about who these are going to be maybe gifted to. If it's a young child, you need to think about the safety elements. We have some green cotton that I actually sewed my buttons on with, and of course a pair of scissors. And one of the most important things you can see sticking out here is my toy stuffing. Now this is a proper grade toy stuffing. It's not expensive, it's worth paying for something for the quality and the safety aspect of it. So I'll just shove that under there. It's shoved under my son's 3D printer at the moment. And I have my gingerbread cup here with some water in case I get thirsty as I go along. So we might as well just get started. We'll move the red out of the way because we're not going to do that. Oh, one thing I was going to show you. I've got another Amigurumi this week, another chocolate orange colour I've got to show you. Some people may have seen the picture on Facebook. We're going to be doing a pussycat. I'm really pleased with how he's turned out actually. And again, we've got that nice treat. But I know one of the subscribers had asked if I would do a cat, and here it's going to be. So I hope she's going to enjoy it. Hopefully the end of the week I'll be doing that one. So let's get back to Mr. Christmas. Here he is. We'll pop him over there. So he's just peeping at us there. As I mentioned, it is an Amigurumi style. So you've done this probably with me a few times if you've been following me. So it is UK terms as well. So big way of that. So we're going to start with our slip knot onto the hook. And we're going to do our 2 chain that I always start my Amigurumi with. Some people prefer to do the magic circle, magic loop, whatever you want to call it, but this is just my personal preference. I think it's a bit tighter and you can't sort of go wrong with it really. Into that first chain, we're going to do 6 double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're actually starting at the top of the Christmas tree here. So we have our 6. We're now going to do just 1 double crochet into each of those 6. If you're not sure where to start, count from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, because it's sometimes further over than you actually anticipated. I hate this first round. It's always hard to get into. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. You see how it's curling round. Until you can get past that 6, it's always difficult to do this. So I'm just going to tighten it up and I'm going to try and push it out. Sometimes I just push it over my little finger. That always seems to be about the right size for me, to make sure it's facing the right way for us ready to do the next round. The next round is going to have 2 double crochets in the first one and then 1 in the second one, and you're going to repeat that 3 times. Yeah, so here we go. Again, that first one's going to be tricky until we get past 6. So as soon as it gets to 9, it's so much easier. So that's 2 in that first one, 1 in the next one. That is 1 set, and so we've got 3 of these. So we're going to have, or not, get in there. We have 2 in this one, and we have 1 in the next one. We have 1 more set like that. We have a 2 in one, and just a 1 on its own. So we've got a bit bigger now, so again push it back out because it'll keep determined to turn up inside out. When I first crocheted, I crocheted inside out for so long because I didn't know any different. You do need to make sure you push it in the right direction. We are now going to do just 1 double crochet round. Now we had 9, we've increased to 9 because we increased by 3 stitches, so I'll just count this 9. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. You can see we have a little bit of a cone shape appearing. Now each time we're increasing, we're well, I think for all of it actually, let me double check what I've written. For all of it you're only going to be doing in 3 sets. So the next increase you're going to be doing 3 sets, but this time you're going to do 2 in the first one and then 1 in the corresponding 2. So I'll take this out to show you. So that will be 2 and then 1, 1, and you're going to repeat that round. You can pop a stitch marker if you want, but it's not so easy at this point. It sort of gets in your way rather than anything else. So there's a 2 and then a 1 and a 1. That's 1 set. So we have a 2, we have a 1, we have a 1. That's our second set done. Third set we have a 2, we have a 1 and a 1. So now we have 12 stitches. So again we now need just a double crochet round. So 12 stitches we're counting. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Right, now I am going to pop a stitch marker in purely because I'm going to be talking and I'm going to lose track of what I'm doing. So I've got my little gnome that I got from So Unique. Let's pop him in there. I will have to move him up every 2 rounds though, because we're increasing. It will alter his position. I keep saying I'm going to do that actually, sort of just show you that if you don't move it where your stitch marker ends up. I must do that at some point, but it's more sort of a thing not to do sort of tutorial, so I might have to think about a few other things to put with it. So we're going to do another increase round, and this time 2 in the first one and then 1, 2 and 3. So you can see the pattern that it's following. The other thing with this is, look, you could almost say that's a tiny weeny Christmas tree already. So you could actually keep going with this gradient and make it larger, or you could make a smaller Christmas tree. So you can stop and start where you want really. So 2 in the first one and 1 in the next 3. 1, 2 and 3. That is 1 set. Our second set, 2 in the first one and 1 in each of the 3. 1, 2 and 3. That is our second set. Last set, 2 in the first one and 1 in the next 3. 1, 2, and we should be back to little gnome. There we are back. So I'm now going to do a plain double crochet round. So we now need 15 stitches. So either count or use your stitch marker. I would recommend you do count because you're going to get in sort of a more definite shape. You could risk it a little bit if you just rely on the stitch marker. 1, 2, 3. I said I wasn't going to count. I can't help it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like we're okay. 3 more. 13, 14 and 15. So I am going to move this little guy up because it will make a difference. So right up to the top there, I need him. Yes, so he's hooked in nicely there. So we're now going to increase. Oh, did I knock the camera then? It's because every time I look to one side I'm inclined to knock the camera on this side, so I must be careful. We're going to do another increase, and this time it's going to count us up to 18 stitches, and it's going to be a 2 in 1, 1 in the next 4. So first one, 2, then 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's one set. You're going to do that 2 more times. 2 in the first one, 1 in the next 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Last set. 2 in this one, 1 in the next 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now this time I'm going to try not to count. I'm not going to count. We've got 18 stitches. I'm going to use my stitch marker. Off I go. So the reason, as I say, I pop stitch marker it. I can speak. I can't even say it. Stitch marker. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's so I can sort of chat to you at the same time. Now, obviously Christmas is coming. I've noticed that people are starting to do a lot of Christmas tutorials at the moment. And I know my views on my Christmas ones have gone up greatly. Thank you very much for that. But yeah, I think we all need a little bit of a lift, a little bit of Christmas spirit, a sort of a little bit of magic. I think it's an important time to need it. I've seen a few people pop Christmas trees up already where we are, and in our village our Christmas tree is up in the centre of the village, even though most of the shops aren't open, but it's still nice to see the lights and see the lights strung up. So I'm really pleased about that. I'm glad they have done it. So that was 18 there. We have another increase. We're going to get up to 21. You can probably see how the pattern's working. So it's going to be 2 in the first one, 1 in the next 5. So you can see how it's combining up there. So we have a 2 and then a 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That's one set. We have a 2 and then 1 in each of the next 5. 1, 2, it's a bit loose there. What's that about? 2, 3, 4 and 5. We have one more set to go. So we have a 2 and then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and time to move Mr. Gnome because otherwise our positionings are changing. So pop him in there. So that gives us 21 stitches. So this time I'm just going to count sort of gnome to gnome, and we should have 21 stitches there. So off I go. Now, as I was saying, it looks lovely in the village because they have actually popped the tree up. We weren't sure, obviously, because there's only a couple of shops, obviously some food ones open, so we weren't sure whether they would, but they have, and hopefully we theoretically come out of lockdown. I think it's about the first week in December, so you know, if the little sort of cafes or the little restaurants and all the other places open up, because they have all been really good. They've all been even before this lockdown, they were keeping all the social distancing and everything. The little sort of shops and cafes, etc., in our village have done really well. Really proud of the village. Right, off we go. Nearly there. Almost back to gnome. Don't think that's a measurement, gnome to gnome. So you can see, you could stop there and say, oh, I'm doing a little Christmas tree. Why not do different sizes? That'd be quite a nice size to hang on the tree. I know the other measurements will be different, so we'll have to have a play around with that. Remember, that's 21 stitches, and I can show you sort of how we could maybe alter that later. We have another increase round, and it's going to be almost the same again, and it's going to be 2 in 1. And 1 in 6, so you can see the gap in between gaps are going up like 1 stitch each time, and that is how I've increased. So we have 2, then we need 6 individual ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Pattern number 2. So 2 in the first one and 1 in the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We have one more set of those, so 2 in the next one, 1 in the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Can you see each time it's just slightly to one side of where the gnome is? This is why I say he needs to be moved. So I'm going to move him again. Moved him loads of times on this one, haven't I? So he's in there now. So we now can do just around, without thinking, of 24 stitches. off we go. If you're finding I'm a little bit fast, I know I do mention this, but in case there's anybody new watching, you do know you can slow me down in the settings. That was something I had to learn. I didn't know that existed, but you can slow me down in the settings. But unfortunately, my voice sounds a little bit silly. But if you're only watching me, just turn the volume off and it doesn't matter then, does it? Now, as far as sort of general speed, I know if I'm watching somebody else's video of something else, something I don't really know much about, I'll watch the video first before I attempt and then get all my bits and bobs together. So I think sometimes it's worth having a look, seeing what I'm doing, and then you'll go, oh yeah, I get it. And then you can crochet along with me then. We're almost back to little gnome. Nearly there, little gnome. We've nearly finished with the increasing actually. So we have 24 stitches now. We have one more increase. That's taken us about 15 minutes. That's not bad, you know, really. So are we ready? It's going to be a 2 in 1 and 1 in the next 7 this time, and you do that 3 times. So that is the 2 in 1, and then we need 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So that's our first set. Second set coming up. 2 in the first one, which is our increase, and then 7 individual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Our last time we have a 2 in 1 for our increase, and then 7 individuals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. For the sake of the last round, I'm going to leave gnome there. You're going to just do 1 double crochet into every single one, and then we fasten off. That part is completed. So off we go. I say this is a bit where you're sort of going a little bit quicker. Perhaps you want to pause me and come back to it, or if you're wanting to sort of take your time a little bit, perhaps you want to sort of again pause it, do your round, and then come back to what I am doing. I'm always conscious of the time and the speed I work, but there isn't really a happy medium because everybody's at a different level. The only thing I can mention is if you're not sure on this stitch, the double crochet UK terms, or if you're not sure on Amigurumi, I have got a video where you could have a little nosy at that, and it would help you get the basics. That's if you're one of the beginners that have come to the tutorials. Yarn's getting tangled. That's better. So we're last few stitches, and then we're going to fasten off, because as I mentioned, his bottom is separate, and there is a reason for that, which you will see when I get to it. You could just decrease down, but I decided to do it separate because I wanted to do something else. So I'm round. I always finish off with a slip stitch, personal choice. There we go. So where's my scissors? Oh, see, slipping out my fingers. There we go. Right, let's take little Nomi out. Probably don't need him from now on. It might help perhaps when we get to the base, but that is our cone. Makes a cute little hat actually, doesn't it? Almost Cindy size, I think. Might have to have a think about that. Right, I'm actually going to sew this end in because I found when I did mine it got in the way. So let's just get rid of this one. It's going to be stuffed, so that's split not very well, is it? There we go. Good job it doesn't matter because we're not going to see it. The yarn split. There we go. So I just want to get rid of this, so I'm just going to stitch it in there. I don't need to worry about cutting it off even because it's all going to be stuffed. It's just want it out of the way so it's not sort of hindering me when I do the bottom bit. That should do. That should do. Right, I'm going to leave those in because I'm just going to push them into the bottom. Always have to push right into the point when you're doing something this shape. You stuff it and you don't think it's got to get right up there. We also need to pop his eyes in, so that's where did I finish off? Where did I finish off? That's where I finished off, so I want that to be the back. No, that's where I finished off. That's all right, can't even tell. That's a good thing. That is a good thing. Right, so I'm going to pop him down like that, and let's find these 9mm eyes. Let's have a look approximately where I popped them in. The thing is, don't pop the backs on until you're happy where the eye placement is. So they just push through. Again, you can have a bit of fun with it. You can make him have sort of closer eyes, wider eyes. I think that looks quite cute, a little bit more narrow than that one, but I like that. So where's the backs? Depending on what you're using for your safety eyes, you will find sort of one shape is sort of up and the other indented. I want the up side facing me. I'm going to try and do this different way so you can see. So you've got the bits pointing out. So dome up, and I'm going to click 1, 2 and 3. I find these work on 3. Most of the ones I've got do. You might need to check yours out. So I click 1, I click 2 and I click 3. Because you don't want it too tight because it digs into the yarn, but you don't want it loose so it looks like it's coming off. So think about that when you're doing it. We might actually sew his mouth on. You can do it afterwards, but why not? Let's just get it all out of the way and then he's ready. Again, you can sew the details on at this point. I didn't. I chose not to. We can make a really big knot because it's not going to be seen. It's on the inside. I chose center point between his 2 eyes, and I'm also not going between the stitches. I'm breaking through a stitch because I think that holds better. Make sure it's a nice big knot to hold, and I'm just going to take it up and across. I'm hoping this is going to be in the right position. Sometimes I undo the mouths and eyes quite a lot. Let's have a look. I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the colour black when I'm working because my eye's still not functioning properly on the right side. And it's sort of the blur, for some reason, the black, it really sort of is affecting me quite badly. Right, there we go. We've got a little smiley face on this little one. It's just, you know, people determined to call me when when I'm recording. It's like nobody wants me until I put the camera on. That's my daughter though, so she'll know what I'm doing. So let's just tie. Not, it doesn't have to be anything special. You're not going to be able to see it, so don't worry about it. And there we go. So he's got a little cuter mouth, hasn't he? He's got a smaller mouth than the other one. Let me just stretch that bit out a bit. There we go. I like that. He looks cute. Right, so we can get rid of that bit of yarn. That's not required. And we're now going to work on the bottom of our Christmas tree. It is an amigurumi bottom. So slip knot, 2 chain. Don't keep that slip knot tight. You just saw that it's difficult to do then. So 2 chain, 6 double crochets into our first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Tighten it up. You're going to do 2 into every single one. Just very typical amigurumi now. So if you're not sure, count from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It's actually there. So 2 into each, 2 double crochets into each of those 6 to give us 12. So that's our second one, our third one, fourth, fifth and sixth. So we now have 12 stitches. So I'm going to do it again, and we're going to have 2 in each to give me 24. So 1, this is our second one with 2, our third one, fourth. I'm just going to count normally now, just remembering it's 2 in each. 5, oh, and I probably did it wrong. Ooh, 5, 6, what am I like? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and our last one, 2 in that last one, gives us 12. So that's 12 sets times 2, so we have 24 stitches. I'm going to do just a double crochet round now. Let's pop little gnome in so I'm not counting all the time. Pop him in there. little festive fellow there. Off we go. 1 double crochet into each of those 24. So like I said, because I'm just trusting Gnome, I'm not counting. I think it's better if you do. If you've got a quiet time to do it, please count. It does make it easier, and you can guarantee your sizings then. But if you're like me, there's always distractions somewhere that you're not getting around to sort of counting. Oh, that one wants tightening up in the middle again. I've not tightened it up, had I, this time? Nearly there. It's curling a little bit. Do not worry about that. That will flatten out when you do the next round. I think we're about there. That looks as if it's above him. Yep, that will do me. Our next round is an increase, but we're only increasing by 3 stitches. So we're going to do 2 in our first one. Yep. And then we're going to do, we've got a 7 then. So off we go. I'm aiming to get to 27 because can you remember, let me grab this bit. I ended up with 27 stitches there. Well, I want 27 stitches here because I need to line those up. So that is important. That's why I'm only doing 3 increase now to get to a 27. So 2 in that one, 1 in the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. That's 1 increase. We need another increase here. Our second increase, 2 in 1, then 1 in the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Just flatten it out a little bit. Last increase, 2 in this one, and then 1 in the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Let's take Nomi out. So we have a base that is the same, doesn't look it there, but it's the same amount of stitches as this, which is what I wanted. So I'm just going to tighten that middle knot up again. It didn't seem to want to tighten up. If you ever have that problem, you can always stitch around and then pull it tight, and it does do it that way. Now I am actually going to fasten off here, as much as I'm going to be adding that to that. So you could do it, but it's the direction I want the frill to sit. So I need to fasten it off. And I'm also going to sew it across so it's not in my way, because I'm going to be starting with a new piece of yarn and I don't want that one getting in the way. Again, you may have an easier way of doing it. Perhaps I'm making it a little bit more difficult than it needs to be. I don't know. So just push it across, then flatten it out, make sure it's not pulled too tight, and I'm just going to trim those 2 a bit. I know they're going inside the stuffing, but I don't want them in the way. That's the only reason I've done that. Needle to one side, and now we're going to attach this to this. I think that will look great, but I'm going to go from the top. So I'm going to line the stitches up and work from the top on that. Actually pause there a second because I had to just take a call, so if it looked a bit weird on the other one, it's because I was trying to juggle with my phone. Right, as I was saying, we're going to go from the top, so you can start wherever you want. I'm going to start at the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my hook into 2 pieces. Don't just take one, make sure it's nice and solid, and then 2 pieces of the other side as well. So I've got my yarn here ready, and I'm got the first one. I'm just going to pull it through and do a little chain that usually anchors it into place, and then where you've done that fasten off, it's sometimes a little bit tricky to get in. You can see I'm having a bit of a fight there. Just give it a wiggle. There we are, and we're in, and into its opposite stitch and double crochet. So into the other side. That made it look really difficult. Let me try and do it a bit clearer. So that's a 2, yeah, pick up its opposite friend, so you've got like the 4 on there. Well, it's not 4 stitches, it's 2 halves of each one. So pulling it through. That first one was difficult. I shouldn't have started where I'd finished off because it was a bit of a fight. So from now on, I'm just lining up and I'm picking up each side. Now you can sew this, but you would then have to pick up the stitches after. It depends. You can see how I've got a little frill. If you're not bothered about the frill, you can just sew it. It's just that I wanted to crochet the little frill area on, so I needed the base of it to be crocheted, because then it's easier to do the next bit. So I'm just lining up 2 of 2 and pulling through. And so the occasional one's been a bit tough there. Every now and again check that you've not missed any, because otherwise you'll end up with sort of loads of stitches on the top bit left and none on the bottom, or vice versa. So just keep checking they are roughly lined up. And don't forget to stuff it before we get to the end. Says me. That was a reminder for me, not for you. So we need to leave a little space to actually pop the stuffing in there. In fact, let me push those in now, because we don't need those, do we? That's where we started, so I need that one. So can you see how we're joining it together? So each piece and double crochet through and double crochet. See, it's going easier now because I've gone past where I fastened off. Just makes it a bit tighter. Perhaps I shouldn't have fastened off as tight. That might be something to watch for. So I've left a little hole. Probably could have done with leaving a bigger hole, but we can get it in there. In fact, I'm going to take a couple of stitches out. Come on, let's take a couple of stitches out. Let's make life easy, not difficult. So, as I say, this is toy grade stuffing, and I'm going to pop it inside. Now, I'm just putting little bits in at a time because I want it to go right to the point first, so I don't lose the shape. That's looking okay. It needs a little bit more than that. Don't over sew it, otherwise the bottom part bulges out. Over sew, did I say sew? Over stuff it, because otherwise the bottom bit bulges out. That's probably about enough, because we need this to keep relatively flat. I think that should be okay. Yeah. Right, let's get this stitched back up. So I crocheted back up and finished off. Try not to catch the stuffing, because it's a pain when it comes through, because you get all these little tiny white bits. It's not always avoidable. Sometimes you have to trim them off afterwards. Almost there. A couple more stitches. So don't rush, make sure you do get them lined up. I'm sort of pausing every now and again. So that is basically him. Now sometimes when you put the stuffing in, you need to sort of like adjust the eyes, because you know the spiky bit on the back of the eyes, it needs to just be wiggled about a bit. Now my next round is going to be so simple. It's basically 3 chain. So in fact I'll do one more stitch, so join, slip stitch, join, there we go. So 1, 2 and 3, slip stitch into the next one. Yeah, again 1, 2 and 3. It's not really a frill, is it? It's just chain, and slip stitch into the next one. 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch. 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch. 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch. So you are literally slip stitching into the next one. Don't leave any gaps. 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch. I'm not going to slip stitch all the way around. You don't need to see me do that, but basically it just gives this very light frill. Move that out of the way so you can see it. It's nothing sort of big, it's just a little tiny frill there. So I'm just going to take that out a minute, and I'm just going to take off enough yarn so I could complete my frill later. Don't want to run out. That should do that. Let's just cut that off, and I'm going to just roll that into a little sort of ball thing for a minute or two, because I want to get onto the base for you, because otherwise the video takes too long. So we would have carried on around with that. So he's looking very cute at the moment. So red, or whatever colour you choose. Now the base is just a little bobble really. I'm just turning my pattern over. There we go. Again, couldn't be any easier. We will use the little stitch marker at a certain point. So slip knot, and yes, 2 chain. 1, 2. 6 double crochets into that first chain, or not, as mine has just gone. Let's start again, shall we? Right, slip knot, not too tight, 1 and 2, 6 into that first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're now going to do 2 in each. Again, check from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that is our first one. 2 in every single one. 1, 2. I've moved over a bit, haven't I? Why have I moved over? I don't know. 3, 4, 5 and 6. That is now given us 12 stitches. Tighten up my middle bit, pull it really nice and tight, and we're going to do 2 in each again. So we have a 1, we have 2 in this one, 2 in our third, our fourth, remember 2 in each, and 5 and 6. Red's a bit of a nightmare to show up on the screen, I know that. 7, so I hope it looks all right. 8, 9, 10, 11, and our last one is 12. Now that's as much as increasing as you're going to do. We're going to do just double crochet rounds, so little gnomes come back and we're going to pop him in, and then I can sort of chatter away. We're going to have 3 rounds of double crochet, so 3 rounds of 24 stitches. That's all you need. Right, off we go. I was just thinking when I said about red being a difficult color to view, because it's sort of, I don't know, there's something about it when you're filming it, and I was about to say, well, you can't really avoid red and green at Christmas. You sort of can't if you're looking traditional, but there's a lot of purples and lilacs and frosty colours and icy colours. So this could be an icy tree. You could do it as a blue tree. Perhaps if you've got sequins that are like little snowflakes or something like that. So they don't have to be the traditional colours. My Christmas tree is very traditional. As in traditional, I think it's not colour coordinated. It's everything. It's real sort of old school, sort of Victorian looking Christmas tree, because that's how I like it. But I know some people do like to colour theme, and they do look gorgeous, some of the colour themes. So yeah, you could make the Christmas tree whatever colour you wanted. So that was round 1. So next round, carry on round, just 1 double crochet in each one. So this is our second round. I'm just looking, I've written 3, and then I'm just looking at the Christmas tree to one side here, and I'm wondering whether it is 3. I think it may be more, I don't know, we'll see. I suppose it depends on how deep you want it. So this is our second round of just 1 double crochet in each stitch. What time are we on? I can't time it now because I had to pause. It stops the timer, and then it restarts it when I start up again. So I'm hoping it's even doing it right. So we're on 9 minutes at the moment. I think we're probably about 35, maybe 40 minutes towards. There is a few bits and bobs on this one, so it does take a little bit longer. It's like when I do the cat for you, that will take a little bit longer because there's a lot of just basic rounds and sort of a few fiddly bits and bobs. So let's have a look how this is growing, because can you see? Now, if you're ever wanting to count, I count. I've got my 6, I've got my 12, I've got my 24. Then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think I've got 5. I don't know why on earth I have written 3. It doesn't need 3, does it? I think it's going to be 5. So when I write my pattern up, I need to make sure I do that right. So off we go again. Again, you can make it as deep as you want. You don't have to have a base. You could just leave it as the little Christmas tree shape. There's no reason for it to be sat in something. Or you could do it brown, as if it's sort of like the... I was going to say stalk then. That's not right, is it? The main trunk of the tree. You're wanting to sort of do it more naturalistic. nearly there. Right, I'm going to double check my counting now. Counting is one of the worst things when you lose count, so I'm trying to work it out. Right, so this little circle here is my 6, this little circle here is my 12, this is my 24, then I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3. So I think I need 2 more. So if you do lose count, that's sort of the way you do it, sort of it's the rings that you want to be counting. At least I didn't have to count the stitches because my stitch marker's doing that bit for me. But it should be 24 stitches, hopefully. Hopefully you've not added anywhere you shouldn't. I might actually have a look after this one. I'm going to pop 5 rounds in the pattern, but entirely up to you whether you want to do a bit more or a bit less. I'm just going to compare it next to the other one because this might be okay. There's no rules. That's why I like crochet. You can manipulate it as you would like. What do you think? Looks big like that, but when you sew it in, it does look a bit smaller. I think that might do. I think you might have a slightly smaller base. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch finish there. Let's get this yarn out of the way. Make sure you leave enough to sew up, which I don't think I've done. Oh, I do like to make my life difficult. So, did I do my slip stitch? I did. So just fasten off. Know me out. And let's have a look how it would fit on the bottom of our little tree. Now again with these rings I sort of worked out, so I'm like looking at them and again I'm going that's 6, that's 12, this was a slightly different increase, wasn't it? No, it went 6, 9, 12. So I need this, as much as it sounds small, somewhere around there, so that's the area I will be stitching in. So where's my needle? Let's get started on this. Again, you don't need to see me fully do it. You may have a better way of sewing in, so please do so. I always pop it in there, just flattens it off, and I'm going to choose where it's going to sit. So make it into that little sort of shape, and I will go there. I think in between those two, and I'm just going to pick up one piece and then the other. One piece and then the other, trying to keep it matched up. Yep, so you can see how it's starting to stitch into place. I usually keep my thumb sort of on top of it to help. So I'm following the same round for all of it. Try not to deviate, otherwise you'll lose your central position. We'll have a look at it in a second, couple more stitches. Stop pulling it towards me when I'm sewing up. I am bad for that. If I was sewing up normally, that is what I would do. I would sort of pull it right close to my body, and obviously you can't really video it then because it'd be an awkward position to video. So I feel like I'm sort of stuck out with my arms like this while I'm sewing it in. Right, 2 more maybe. That's one. It's not all the way around yet. I just want to explain something. So you can see how that is now sitting as sort of a nice sort of little ball. Let's get rid of some of these ends inside it. That one can go in. That can be useful for stuffing. We need a little bit of stuffing, or if you haven't got enough stuffing, a little bit of yarn will do. You don't need a lot because, as you can see, when we pull it round, it doesn't need it. He sort of overshadows it. I'm going to have to hold it that way up so you can sort of see what I'm referring to. So I'm going to carry on stitching that, not while you're sort of watching because you don't need to watch me do that, but you can see how sort of soft that is, so it sits. And again, the frill, as the frill comes round, it will sort of skirt down over that, just like this one does here. You can make these longer chains if you want to make it a more obvious sort of frill. It'll sort of like hook round like that if you make the chain longer. Now going back to the buttons, as I say, I got these tiny little buttons. and I just stitched them on just with regular sewing cotton. I just thought they were nice and bright and colourful. But if you've got beads or anything else you can think of, you could thread sort of a little bit of tinsel thread around it. If you've got some embroidery thread that's metallic, you could sort of weave that around it. You could do all sorts. Sky's the limit. And maybe, as I say, a frosty tree or a more naturalistic tree. You don't have to have a little face on it. You don't need to do an amigurumi cutie one. I mean, it's very cute and kawaii, but you don't have to do that. So there's his little brother that I will get finished off now. Just sort of squash him into place, and I'll get the rest of the stitching done. Hope you enjoyed that. Christmas is coming, definitely. I love Christmas. You're going to see some more Christmas things yet, and some dolly Christmas things as well, I hope. So thank you once. I cannot speak today. I think I need to go to bed. I don't know about talking to people. Right, I'm going to say, if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and share the videos again with anybody that you might think might be interested. Thank you for your support, and I will see you very soon with some more Christmas. So, bye!